Past presidents have defeated the Nazis, we now have one who cannot even condemn them. John Oliver goes off on Trump for his many sides response to Charlottesville. President Trump has been labeled a F-idiot by John Oliver over his initial failure to condemn white nationalist demonstrators after a woman was killed by a Nazi sympathizer in a car attack in Charlottesville. The presenter opened yesterday's Last Week Tonight with a monologue condemning Trump and implying he is feeding Nazis. In a press conference following the killing of anti-fascist demonstrator Heather Heyer when far-right activist James Fields deliberately drove into a crowd, the president stopped short of explicitly condemning the far-right groups. Instead he said there was violence on many sides, and a day later the White House released a statement insisting he was talking about white supremacists. Trump has taken heat, including from members of his own party, for condemning the violence in Charlottesville on many sides, failing to call out the hate groups marching in the Virginia town by name. On Monday, he still hadn't personally pointed a finger at the white supremacists, neo-Nazis, KKK members and other hate groups, tweeting instead about his day trip to Washington, D.C., and blaming Democrats for being obstructionists on the issue of trade. Speaking on the show, Oliver said, "On many sides? This was a white nationalist rally. You have to call that out by name. There honestly aren't many instances in modern American politics where you could honestly think that guy really should have mentioned the Nazis, but this is emphatically one of them. It's like a reverse Godwin's law, if you fail to mention Nazism, you lose the argument." This morning, Attorney General Jeff Sessions joined Vice President Mike Pence in defending President Donald Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville this weekend. He made a very strong statement that directly contradicted the ideology of hatred, violence, bigotry, racism, white supremacy, Sessions said on NBC's Today Show, pointing to remarks Trump made Saturday from his Bedminster resort. Sessions also argued that a statement made by an unnamed White House spokesperson on Sunday counted as part of Trump's official response. It as a White House spokesman explicitly condemning these groups by name, and I'm sure he'll talk about it again soon, Sessions said. Pence also defended Trump's remarks when asked about them by a journalist. Yesterday President Trump clearly and unambiguously condemned the bigotry, violence and hatred which took place on the streets of Charlottesville, Pence said. He continued his support in an interview that aired Monday morning on Today. "I think the president yesterday spoke into a national moment, words that the American people needed to hear, that we condemn acts of violence, acts of hatred," Pence told NBC News' Peter Alexander. Pence tried to blame the media for putting the criticism of Trump so squarely in the spotlight. "I will tell you, Peter, that I take issue with the fact that many of the media are spending more time criticizing how the president addressed the issue," Pence said, as Alexander pointed out that congressional Republicans, including Senators Orrin Hatch and Ted Cruz, are the ones highlighting the statement's deficiency. Many in the media spend an awful lot of time focusing on what the president said and criticisms of what the president said, instead of criticizing those who brought that hatred and violence to the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia, Pence added. But on Sunday, the White House did damage control by having an unnamed spokesperson release a statement calling out the hate groups by name. The president said very strongly in his statement yesterday that he condemns all forms of violence, bigotry, and hatred, the spokesperson said. Of course that includes white supremacists, KKK, neo-Nazi and all extremist groups. The president's words on Saturday were, "We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry and violence on many sides, Trump said Saturday from his Bedminster, New Jersey resort, where he is spending a large chunk of August. At least 19 people were injured when a car was deliberately driven into a crowd of anti-racism protesters. White supremacist James Alex Fields Jr. has been charged with second-degree murder. Former Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard David Duke, who was in Charlottesville, told reporters that the far-right demonstrators wanted to fulfill the promises of Donald Trump. Saying he wanted to take our country back, Duke said, "That's what we believed in. That's why we voted for Donald Trump, because he said he's going to take our country back." Oliver observed, "I've gotta say, David Duke and the Nazis really seem to like Donald Trump." He continued, "And that kind of connection there is something that anyone in their right mind would want to immediately and repeatedly disavow, and it's not like Trump wasn't given the opportunity." The president has been heavily praised from the extreme right, with white supremacist site The Daily Stormer wrote, "No condemnation at all." When asked to condemn, he just walked out of the room. "Really, really good. God bless him," they wrote.